I want to preach from a subject that Dr. Kenneth Q. James helped me to arrive at by reminding me of some things I've heard before. I want to preach from the subject, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. A man's got to do what a man's got to do. Today is a day that we celebrate fathers. And it is a task that may not seem as easy as it looks on the surface. Because fathers have, in some cases, got a bad rap. Much attention is paid to mothers on Mother's Day and their role in the family. But the role and the importance of men and fathers often is overlooked and sometimes even maligned, not only in culture, but sadly, sometimes in the church. And so the church must be clear. We come to celebrate fathers. Today is not sperm donor day.
Come on now. Say it, preacher.
Today is not baby daddy day. Today is not single mother's day. Today is can't find a good man day. Or Mother's Day Part 2. Today is Father's Day. So let's lift up the men who are doing a good job. Let's celebrate fathers and men in our lives who are or have acted in the role of fathers. We've got plenty of time to talk about the deadbeats that'll do nothing. But not today. Today is Father's Day. And that's why this story that is our text today, best known as the parable of the prodigal son, may provide the best preaching material for Father's Day. If you know anything at all about the Bible, you know this story. And the way we tell the story focuses so much on the willfulness and waywardness of the sons, plural, because both of them are wayward. But this parable might well have been titled the parable of the loving father. Because this parable is definitely about a father's love in spite of all else. And this story teaches us that a man's got to do what a man has to do. There are some questions that I want to try to answer today, and the question that I really wrestled with doing preparation for this sermon is just exactly what is it that a man's got to do? Can I offer 4 suggestions and then I will take my seat and let you go eat? First of all, a man's got to teach. A man's got to teach. This is clear to me because before we get into the story as we know it, we cannot overlook the fact that this story is about a father and his relationship with his sons. The story does not indicate how old the sons are, but can I take it for granted that they are young because they're still living in their father's house? And I like it that Jesus tells the story including the factor of a man with his sons. Because we must strongly reiterate to older men that you have a responsibility to teach young men. And we must also say to young men that you have something to learn. And I need to say something to all the single mothers here that are here. And we thank you for your wonderful gifts, your love, your kindness. You cannot teach a boy, however, how to be a man. Yes, you can provide and nurture and love your sons. You can teach your sons morals and life principles and ethics. And to your credit, many of you often do in these circumstances, and you do it all by yourself. But you cannot teach your sons how to be men. A man's got to teach, and we teach in everything we do. Whether we mean to teach it or not, if we worship and participate in church, we're teaching that God and worship is really first in our lives. If we get up and go to work, even if it is a job that we don't like or where we don't feel we are appreciated for what we are doing, we teach that hard work is necessary and that even menial work makes a contribution. when a man shows respect for the woman in his life, when a man demonstrates that he would never put his hands on a woman under any circumstances, and when a man establishes that it is wrong even when it is socially acceptable or culturally tolerable, or this new pulpit etiquette call a woman anything other than her name, we teach that women are to be respected and loved. A man must always remember that in everything we do, we are teaching, and our children are watching and learning. That's what a man's got to do. He's got to teach. Secondly, I believe that a man's got to do what a man's got to do, and this story points out that this man's got to have perspective. Look at verse 12. The younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of the property that will belong to me." And I want you to notice the language of that text. The son asked the father for what is coming to him later or eventually. The younger son was obviously not a man because he could not wait. He's too impatient to realize that he's going to get everything he is asking for if he will only have the patience to wait for it. This young son has no appreciation or respect for time because he has no perspective. And this is something that a man must learn to do. We've got to learn to slow down, to be patient, and get some perspective in our life. So many young men who want it all now. Many of them are 20 years old, fresh out of college. In fact, the ink is not even dry on their degree, and they feel that they don't or should not have to struggle for anything. They want to be rich and successful and prosperous, but seem to think that all this is just supposed to drop in their lap, or that it is going to come without work. However, someone has correctly commented that the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. You must have a perspective to know that some things in life you will have to wait and work for. Some folk have believed this hype that you can bounce a ball or run down a field and someone is going to hand you a big contract to play a game. But maybe somebody who thinks that ought to ask about LeBron James, who has to go to practice every single day. And somebody ought to look at the fact that the San Antonio Spurs sure have proven this week that no matter how good you look on television, you better show up at game time with more than a famous name and endorsements. I promise you that you will appreciate it because a man knows that work is how he makes a contribution to the world instead of sitting on the couch at home playing video games, waiting on someone to take care of him. That's what a man's got to do. Can I help some young person up in here? Yeah, you drive in your daddy's car, don't put no gas in it, spin the wheels over, just burning rubber on the highway. But as soon as you start making car payments, all that stuff changes. As soon as you got to buy the gas. Anybody know what I'm talking about? And the third thing a man has got to do, a man has to be prepared to deal with the consequences of his decisions. Listen, brothers, a man cannot live as if there's no eternity or no tomorrow. You can't be a man and live only for the pleasures of the moment. As Jesus tells the story, the father gives the son what he asked for, and the son leaves. But I noticed in verse 13, a few days later, the young son gathered all he had, traveled to a distant country, and there he squandered his property in dissolute. Because when he had spent everything, a severe famine took place throughout that country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him to the fields to feed the pigs.